The left is hysterical. The left is inconsolable because Donald Trump insulted, drumroll, MS-13. The left is beside itself. People like Andrea Mitchell, Jennifer Rubin, the alleged Republican, Representative Eric Swalwell, these people are inconsolable. They're basically throwing temper tantrums here on social media. I've got some screens in front of me because Donald Trump had the audacity to insult MS-13 gang members and call them animals. Now, I personally prefer savages, but animals will work. I have dogs. I have horses. They're wonderful creatures, loving. My dogs just sit on my lap at night when I watch television and fall asleep. They're absolutely adorable. And my horses, well, if you're out there at the fence, they'll just walk over to you and rub your face against theirs, and they're great. But animals fits in context. Again, I like savages, brutal savages, disgusting savages. That's what MS-13 is. But people like Andrea Mitchell and Jennifer Rubin are beside themselves because they're trying to swing this thing out of context. Let me tell you how the mainstream media is reporting on this in just a moment, but let's talk about MS-13 really quick. I told you about MS-13 on the show. If you're not familiar with MS-13, most people are, but if you're not, it stands for Mara Salvatrucha 13. They're a Salvadoran gang that really galvanized, became cohesive here in the United States, in the southern states, around Southern California. They got their start as Salvadoran military escorting drug shipments up through Mexico for the cartels. Now, cartels are brutal people in and of themselves. Their sicarios do things like behead you and castrate men who are rival drug dealers. They rape women, then mutilate them. I mean, these are brutal people. You've seen the imagery from Mexico, the headless corpses hanging from highway overpasses and people being warned off if they remove those, if they cut them down, they're going to be killed. Police in Mexico, very corrupt. Military, very corrupt because the cartels have infiltrated, using enforcers from groups like MS-13 to threaten law enforcement and the military, either come onto the payroll or turn a blind eye. These are very, very brutal people. So here in the States, they've been amping up their criminal activity, raping and murdering, trafficking in young girls. They're really gang members just to be gang members. Oftentimes, they're not even major players in the drug game in certain areas. It's just about the brutality and that sense of evil family. But that's not enough for the American left. They are absolutely beside themselves, saying that Donald Trump wasn't really talking about MS-13, but that he was talking about illegal immigrants. Vox, Trump on deported immigrants. They're not people, they're animals. Then right underneath, whether President Trump was referring to MS-13 gang members or all deportees is unclear, but he didn't exactly hasten to clarify. I'm going to read you Trump's full statement in just a moment. The New York Times knew that Trump meant MS-13, but they couldn't bring themselves to admit it. So the New York Times headline is, Trump calls some unauthorized immigrants animals in a rant. Now, first of all, unauthorized immigrants, no, illegal aliens, New York Times. And the New York Times considers murdering, raping, mutilating MS-13 some. That's how they describe MS-13. Some immigrants. The ones, with the face tattoos. The really bad guys who rape young girls and murder them. The MS-13 is a particularly brutal gang. They prefer not to use firearms when they kill. Machetes and baseball bats are their weapons of choice. So are small knives, razor blades, box cutters, things like that. Why? Not because they can't get access to guns, because it hurts more, because it's more brutal, it's more torturous for the victims. That's what MS-13 is, and that's what the American left wants to inflict on you. So this Vox story is great, and this was all from the roundtable. Trump held a roundtable on sanctuary cities in California with the sheriff of Fresno County, Sheriff Mims, and several others. Sheriff Mims said, and this is from the White House transcript, now ICE is the only law enforcement agency that cannot use our databases to find the bad guys. Sheriff Mims has been very tough on immigration. They cannot come in and talk to people in our jail unless they reach a certain threshold. They can't do all kinds of things that other law enforcement agencies can do, and it's put us in a really bad position, in a very bad position. Now, what she's talking about, what Sheriff Mims is talking about, is that federal cooperation. cooperation between her agency, the Fresno County Sheriff's Office, Fresno PD, other law enforcement agencies, local and state law enforcement agencies in California, cooperating with their federal partners. So when she says now ICE is the only law enforcement agency that can't use our databases, what she's saying is that the FBI can come in and use them, the ATF can come in and use them on a gun case, the DEA can come in and use them on a drug case, other various law enforcement agencies, Treasury agents could come in and use them if they need to find somebody on a financial crime, IRS agents, if they need to find somebody on a tax evasion case. All of the federal law enforcement agencies out there have those cooperative compacts. But because of California's far leftism, ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, cannot. It is simply ludicrous. Now, Homeland Security investigations over at the Department of Homeland Security can, because they handle what U.S. Customs used to. They work closely with agencies like ICE and DEA, interdicting contraband coming into the U.S. But if that contraband is an illegal person, then it's a no-go. It's ridiculous. And the president responded by saying, quote, it's a disgrace, okay? It's a disgrace. And Sheriff Mims said, it is a disgrace. The president said, we're suing on that. We're working hard, and I think it will all come together because people want it to come together. It's so ridiculous. The concept that we're even talking about this is ridiculous. We'll take care of it. Margaret will win. Margaret Sims being the sheriff. And then the sheriff said to the president, thank you. There could be an MS-13 member I know about. If they don't reach a certain threshold, meaning commit a certain level of crime, I cannot tell ICE about it. Sheriff says MS-13. President then responds to the sheriff's comment specifically on MS-13 and says, to Sheriff Mims and to the American people, hardly a rant. President says, quote, President Trump, we have people coming into the country or trying to come in, and we're stopping a lot of them, but we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people. These are animals. And we're taking them out of the country at a level and at a rate that's never happened before. And because of the weak laws, they come in fast. We get them, we release them, we get them again, we bring them out. It's crazy. He is clearly, anyone with a modicum of common sense can see that the president is talking specifically about MS-13 gang members in response to Fresno County Sheriff Margaret Mims saying MS-13 is a problem. I can't even report them to ICE. And the president immediately responding to her, but looking at the camera, talking to the American people. The left is so disingenuous. They're so disgraceful. And I often say the left hates you. They want you dead. And people on the left say to me, you're crazy, you're crazy. Think about this. Am I crazy? In the span of 3 days, the left has now spent the majority of their time, vast majority of their time, defending Hamas terrorists trying to invade Israel and MS-13 gang members raping, murdering MS-13 gang members invading the United States. This is really important content. I want to bring it to you every day, so please help me do that by subscribing to our premium service at www.therebel.media/shows. Go to your app store, rather. Download the Rebel app. Great way to get our content, and go to firescottisrael.com. Sign our petition. Help us have corrupt, incompetent Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel removed from office. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.